a lot of it is just, where do I start? Like, how do
Okay.
I get started? And as Romeo mentioned, being able to help provide that path to learning and understanding what is a machine learning AI model? Like, how do I use this in my day to day? How do I use this giant data set and make sense of it? And I think when you look at the cost, it's like, am I really going to invest this much upfront? Am I going to get the returns down the road that I need? I don't know if I trust this technology. I don't know if I'm buying what's out there. And so I think a lot of the hesitancy that I hear, and Romeo, you can speak to your experience, is around the upfront investment, the break even, the ROI down the road, and then where, like, how do I bring everyone along on this path with me? And is it worth the skilling investment?
Yeah. I think you're right. Some of this, it came out of nowhere for a lot of organizations who are multi-year planning cycles around what's going to come next. And this disrupted that, because all of a sudden it put something very tangible and important in front of them to make a decision on now, to be cutting edge, bleeding edge with the future. And so some of the same fears that they had when they started moving to the cloud, as Chris had alluded to, about increasing costs, skilling up the organization, these things that are sort of unknown in these early stages, are definitely gating factors. Like, how do we pay for this stuff? How do we skill up our organization? How do we hire the right people? How do we cultivate and teach the talent that we have today so they don't go somewhere else, but that they grow in career and they can take advantage of this? So these are all things that were thrust in front of them suddenly. And they've had to really sort of rethink and recategorize and prioritize themselves around this. Fortunately, there's things that are happening on the back end where we've had an eye on that. We've looked at optimization. We've looked at costs. We're putting tools in place to make this manageable and to actually allow them to safely adopt and have an eye on how to plan and budget for these things. The other huge area that I see out there, though, is this conversation around security and privacy and compliance. I mentioned the UX, right? That is the big shift here, is how folks interact with data. And so what do you do when you all of a sudden you put an LLM with natural language capability in the hands of people, and open up the data sources and applications in a new way to them that just makes it so easy and accessible? No writing queries, no figuring out where data is, just asking questions. And now what is that going to surface? So I think there are fears that are out there